Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk about the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. It was called In the Cradle of Vexilon. And as it starts, we find the Cerritos visiting Corazonia, which relies on a computer named Vexilon for weather and its general environment, which it turns out has been running less than optimally lately. While the captain tries to fix what ails it, BOIMLER is working with T'Ana and a few ensigns they're leading on a mission to update a local system, which, not surprisingly, is more dangerous than BOIMLER would like. At the same time, Tendi, Rutherford, and Mariner have to scan thousands of isolinear chips on the Cerritos by hand to find a single defective one, and they're none too pleased about this grunt work, especially now that they've all been promoted. Back in Corazonia, it seems that Vexilon's software is in need of an update, which the captain initiates, only for it to trigger a glitch-based total shutdown. Elsewhere, BOIMLER micromanages his team to the point of being unable to delegate any of the responsibility to them. Next, we learn that Vexilon is running through a sort of soft reboot, which is causing crazy environmental stuff to happen, so the captain totally reboots it, causing it to go into terraforming mode, necessitating the reversal of the work that BOIMLER had been doing, which he had almost finished, so that Vexilon can be set right, which he now has to do against the backdrop of a volcano erupting and raining hell down on him and his team. It's at this point that T'Ana has to snap BOIMLER out of his self-doubt so he can actually delegate some of the duties of the mission to his team. Back in the Cerritos, after pretending to finish scanning the chips, the other lieutenants realize they have to actually finish so there isn't a catastrophe with the various anomaly items stored on the ship. And they do manage it, but not before Rutherford gets briefly stuck in the hopscotch game from Deep Space Nine. Right before the episode ends, we see that BOIMLER and his team do in fact succeed at helping the captain reboot Vexilon, but not without BOIMLER being blown up and then coding twice and needing to be resuscitated. So this was a fun episode, but I didn't think it was any great shakes, I have to say. The best part of it, I guess, was BOIMLER learning that he can let go of some of his insecurities and make the hard choices to put other people in harm's way if need be, as someone who now has command power over lower ranked officers, which I imagine is something that anybody who gets promoted from the lowest rank in any sort of organization to a position of some authority over others goes through, because you don't want to be responsible for somebody getting hurt, but you have to delegate. You can't do everything yourself for a number of reasons. So he had to sort of learn that lesson, and I guess that was the good part of the episode. The rest of it was really kind of like an air sandwich. There wasn't any meat to it, as they say. So I didn't think too much of the rest of it. And this episode was kind of light on references, and there were references, but it was kind of light on references, so it didn't have that part to entertain me and make me smile, so I didn't think too much of this episode. But I do like the T'Ana character. I'm glad she's been in every episode far. She's very funny, which of course is ironic because she's Vulcan, but I like her a lot. And she came through in the clutch in this episode as well, so that was cool. Also, in this episode, we didn't see the little ship that's been going around blowing up other ships. So they skipped over that sort of plot for this episode. That didn't come into it. So I suppose that's okay, just generally. But in this episode where there wasn't much to it, it would have been nice to at least continue that part of the story. I don't know. And I just didn't think much of the whole isolinear chip thing and the room with the anomalies. Again, there were probably a bunch of references in there, either visually or stuff they said, and I didn't catch it, but I know that others will catch it, and I'll hear about it later. But yeah, I didn't think much of this episode. The first two were much better, so hopefully next week is a return to form for this show. But that's really it. I didn't have too much to say about this episode. I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back, of course, to do a recap and review of the next episode once it's released. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.